everybody. Karen Obi here for Tech Republic. Because of the COVID-19, the pandemic here, we've seen so many changes with companies, with entire industries going through major change, and will continue to as a result of all of this. I'm glad to be joined today by Yariv Bash. He's the CEO of a drone delivery company called Flytrex. Yariv, thanks for being with us here today.
Thank you, Karen. My pleasure.
Absolutely. The drone delivery business, obviously something kind of new. A lot of people don't know much about drones and what what you guys do, what your potential is. Talk about the industry as a whole here prior to COVID-19. What the industry was like, and then we'll talk about what's changed since the pandemic.
Sure. So as you might as well notice that, delivery drones have been a promise for many years now. Bezos spoke about that like 5 years ago. And since then, you're not getting your hamburger with the drone, most likely in the States or anywhere in the world. But in the past 2 years, the FAA really decided to push that forward. It began with an executive order from President Trump almost 2 years ago. And now we're on I'd say near the end of a very long regulatory process with the FAA on making drone deliveries a reality in the States. And I think that, even before COVID-19, there was a lot of motivation to get things running and moving forward. And as you said, COVID-19 is really making a change. We've been seeing a lot of high motivation from the regulators to help push forward even faster. Nobody's lowering the bar. Nobody's willing to take any bit of the level of safety that we have to adhere to. But from what we're seeing in the past 2 months, regulators like the FAA are willing to push forward a lot faster than they did before. If before the pandemic, we had a weekly call with the FAA, today we've got almost every day a conference call with them. So things are progressing really nice.
Yeah, and talk about, so because of COVID-19 and the need to get things delivered quickly, whether that be, healthcare supplies, PPE, things like that, to just talk about the changes you've seen in terms of the demand.
Mm-hmm. So we've been getting a lot more inquiries and requests since the pandemic started from all over the world, and of course from the US as well. It starts with medical supplies, but at the end, if I can help you stay at home and increase the social distancing by even just doing grocery shopping for you or bringing you food back home, then drones could be a part of the solution for the pandemic.
And Yuriv, when we talk about, explain here for everyone what this will look like for a drone delivery when you talk about groceries or medical supplies or anything like that. When the need is there, how quickly will that be turned around, and how many of these at one point could be in an airspace above a mid-sized city here in the States?
So basically, when those drones are cruising above you, you can't really see or hear them. They're pretty small. They're a lot smaller and quieter than a Boeing flying above your city, and a lot safer than a Boeing flying above your city. Let's face it. We're talking about ultra-fast deliveries. For instance, in our project in Iceland and now in North Dakota, people can get their Dairy Queen or Walmarts delivered in 15, 20 minutes directly to their backyard. Companies that are doing medical supplies can deliver PPEs, for instance, or medicine to hospitals that are 50 miles away within an hour. That's a lot faster than any current alternative and a lot cheaper.
And well, that's what I was going to say is expand a little bit on, the upside here to having drones, as far as you mentioned, rather than having a large airplane flying overhead, it could be safer and certainly quieter. But talk a little bit further about some of the benefits that, from your perspective, of having things, dropped off at people's homes,
Sure.
From a cost perspective and things like that.
If you think about it, getting a 1-ton car with a human being inside to get you a hamburger feels a bit silly. Drones are much more lightweight. They're a lot quieter. They're 100% electric, so they're greener. And at the end, you can use that same person to just handle and automatically operate a fleet of drones. So that person can become much more effective in making those deliveries. So at the end, that translates at the end to a better service at a lower price to both the consumers and the retailers. On demand today is prohibitively expensive.
And Yariv, as far as if you were looking, say, 6 months to a year down the line,
Mhm.
what do you expect the drone delivery business to look like?
So we expect that in the next 6 months, we'll see the first companies that will finish going through the certification process by the FAA, which basically gives you the green light to start flying above the United States on a federal level. There's still some problems with flying what's called beyond visual line of sight. That's something that still needs to be solved. But I guess that within the next year, we'll start seeing deployments on smaller scales, smaller towns, parts of cities. When I'm talking about smaller scales, I'm talking about a few dozens of drones per location. So that's a smaller scale. And as the regulatory process continues and we learn how to manage all those drones in the air simultaneously, you can have hundreds of drones flying above your cities, but they'll be basically replacing a lot of cars with a lot of humans in them. They'll be lowering the traffic jams. They'll be lowering the car accidents, and basically helping to preserve a greener city and a greener environment.
All right, really interesting conversation here. You're even, I know we have a good bit more information about drones and the industry there on Tech Republic and ZDNet. We hope all of you guys will check that out. But we do appreciate you being here with us today to talk a little bit further about this. And we will certainly check in with you about, say, 6 months down the line just to see where we are with all of this.
I'm hoping that in the next 6 months, I'll be able to, to just invite you to come to one of our centers and just order a sushi, a hamburger, or something from Walmart on your own.
I look forward to the idea of having something, ordered like that 15 minutes later, dropped on my doorstep. So something to look forward to. All right, Yuri. Well, thanks again for being with us. And thank all of you guys so much for watching.